Hi, I'm Ollie Risco, and I'm live here from Cargo tonight in London, where I am bringing you Glug's Christmas party, where we've got 600 guests, an open bar, and some incredible speakers throughout the night, and some creatives from all around the world. We've got VCCP, we've got Mainframe, we've got Cub Studio, we've got Microsoft Surface, and we've even got some naked people from Mr. Bingo's Advent Calendar. What else could you want? First up, though, let me welcome Ian and Nick on the main stage.
Hello. Can I have a hello? Hello. Oh, come on. It's Christmas, nearly. Do it again. Hello. Bit better.
Who thinks it's too early to have a Christmas party? No.
Who's had a work party yet for Christmas?
No one is doing that.
See, fucking.
Okay.
We're the first.
So welcome back to our spiritual home here at Cargo. We're definitely going to break Rule 4. Right, so you should intro this.
Yeah, hello. I think who's been to Glug before? Just checking. Good. Nice, thank you. Welcome back. Who's new? Good. Lovely. Nice to meet you. Come back again, please. Tonight we've got the wonderful Mainframe. We've got Adam and Chris. Got the guys from VCCP, and I just found out I've got a couple of pals here, which is quite nice.
They're giving away free chocolate as well.
Free chocolate.
So talking about all their sort of Cadbury's work.
This better be good. Have we ruined it? Oh, bollocks. We've got, I think it's Tim. James couldn't make it, but we've got Tim from Koto. Lovely. And Mr. Bingo's Advent Calendar. You better sort this one out.
So basically we've got all of the talent. Oh, yeah, we're going to get there. Oh, okay. So, hold on. They're our special guests.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Right, okay. So, we've got Cub Studio. I don't know if you've seen the amazing Trump stuff. That's my fault. I've not put them on there. So, I apologise, Cub. And then we've got Mr. Bingo's Advent Calendar. We've got the characters. They're not naked. They're going to be interviewed about what it was like to be drawn by Bingo. And we've got the director from his film. So it should be good fun. Okay, so there's loads of stuff going on tonight. I'll quickly run through it. In the cocktail bar, which is right down there at the
That's
entry.
pushing it. Cocktail.
Yeah, all right. In the room at the end there, so we've got life drawing classes. Every half an hour you can go in, you can learn life drawing. We've got one of the creative directors from RGA who's doing that. And we've also
Hang on,
got...
just to check, who went to art college and did life drawing? Yeah, I'd say most of the crowd. If you want to refresh, it's over there.
And we've got like the Royal Ballet, so we've got them to come along and model for us. So you can go in and try that. Then we've got these Christmas cards. So we work with Jelly London. They've done 3 amazing Christmas cards. Oh, look at that, an animated thing. So we've got 3 Christmas cards. All of the money from this goes to shelter. It is £10 for 9 cards. I'm not sure why we ended up on 9 cards for tenner, but you know. So all the money goes for shelter. You can buy them here. You can also buy them online from Awesome Merchandise. They're amazing. So they're really good cards. So get them for Christmas. I know no one sends cards anymore, but just buy them for yourself. Right. And then we've got some sort of doodle stations out there where you can basically play around with Santa and do some fun stuff.
You can play around with Santa.
Yeah, there you go. You literally can. And then lastly...
First in line.
There's some free stuff from Font Smith and Lawrence King. Just go and pick it up. Is that Lawrence King? Are you there? All right, Lawrence. Right. Yeah. Anyway, so this is something...
Slow down, Ian. Slow down.
Okay. So this is something we're really pleased to be doing. So this is an initiative we love. It's a shop called Choose Love. They're in Soho and also in New York. And basically a shop where you go in and you buy gifts for refugees. So you basically go in and you can buy a tent and a little coat for a little kid. Whatever you want to buy in there, you go in, you buy it, and they get automatically sent all that stuff. They raised £2 million last year. They've allowed us to do a special party. We're going to do it on the 12th of December, I think. Tickets are going to be a penny, and we'd like you to go and spend the money you'd normally spend on a ticket buying some stuff in that store, but we'll announce all that tomorrow.
That's it, right, let's crack on. Well done, Ian, well done. Yeah, chat us up, hashtag there and all that. Quick thank you before we crack on with what?
They're all our sponsors. They're amazing. They help us
Lovely,
out.
yeah.
They put it on.
Lovely, lovely people. Push are doing their live stream on the interwebs right now. Microsoft are in the back room, and there's all these other wonderful people.
Oh, there's one last thing. So tonight is the first time we're going to experiment with running a sort of full live stream with all the cameras, and we're putting it on Creative Review, and also we're putting it on Creative Block on their Facebook and social channels.
Shit, is that live now?
Yeah, unfortunately
Shit,
so.
I've just killed my career. What was left of it? Right, the Glug rules. Booze is good in moderation, everyone. You know, coming up to Christmas, you're going to be doing a lot. Please celebrate the new tonight, which we try to do with every event. And also, if you'd like to get in touch with us about speaking in 2019 and showing your stuff off, please do after the event or during the event. Not working is our take on networking. It's fun, get to know each other. Something will fuck up, as you've already seen. And just enjoy yourselves. We are hiring. We've got a role for a global community manager. So if anyone fancies a stab at that, what type of person are we looking for, do you think?
Oh, Jesus. Okay, someone that likes to communicate well with people around the world.
Someone could teach him how to communicate a bit. Yeah.
What are you doing? Put me on the... Oh.
All right,
Okay,
right.
yeah, move on.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, that's it. Christ. Right, first, Adam and Chris from Mainframe. Welcome to the stage, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Right, give them a big shout. They're amazing. Yes!
Woo! Woo, woo!
Right, hello. I'm joined by some of our guest speakers for tonight. I'm going to let them introduce themselves and talk about what they're doing here tonight. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Indeed, I'm Adam Jens and I'm from Mainframe.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
I'm Chris Hardcastle. I'm from Mainframe and I run our Manchester studio.
Right, welcome to Glug's London Christmas Party. Do you want to tell us a bit more about what Mainframe do?
Sure, yeah, Mainframe, a motion design studio, one of the early ones. We've been going for just over 20 years now. So we've been 20 years in London and 10 years in Manchester. So we've we've been going from the start, I'd say, in this industry. And we do all sorts of different moving image projects, and Chris also up in the Manchester studio does a lot of tech and software development for moving image projects.
It's great to have someone from Manchester here tonight. There's incredible work happening up there, and there's some really, really great creative work. How are you finding it up there?
Yeah, we love it. We moved up, as I said, we moved up 10 years ago. I was based down here in London and moved up to Manchester and started Mainframe up there. At that time, there was really pretty much nobody doing what we were doing. There was one or two companies that we had, had our eyes on, thinking they would be people to keep an eye out. Now there are sort of in the tens, getting towards hundreds of companies like us doing similar things. So it's just exploding really in terms of, both the development, but also in terms of the creative industry from a motion design side of things, at least. Lots of other things going on as well, but in our industry, it's really booming.
That's really good. So I'm going to ask you a question about what's going on out in the industry at the moment. Who do you think is doing great work right now?
Wow, I hate these questions. I mean, because I've got a bit of a focus at the moment on software development. So as Ab was saying, we're doing some software development. We build animation tools basically, as well as doing the animation with those tools. So I'm looking at kind of the more, I haven't really got any specific names, but I'm looking at people who are more sort of technically driven now. So whether that be sort of procedural style animation or anything that's sort of code-based, we're sort of taking a keener eye on, I guess, particularly in the Manchester studio. That's my focus. I'm gone blank in terms of names. But
Don't worry at all. Let's go. Let's take a different question. So, what would your dream client be today?
Oh, dream client, one that is extremely hands-off. That is our dream client. We just a client that just lets you run with an idea and make it to your satisfaction. That's what a dream client is for us, with deep pockets.
If you're out there, get in touch. As it's a Christmas party, I'm going to ask a Christmas question. What is your favourite Christmas video, film, movie, whatever your choice is?
I just introduced my kids to National Lampoons, so we've just watched Christmas Vacation, which is a bit racier than you remember it. Yeah. So not one for 9-year-olds, to anyone who's got 9-year-olds.
Slightly racist or not?
Just a bit. There's sort of nipples, and it's a bit too much for a 9-year-old. I just remember it being shits and giggles, but there's bits in there that, yeah.
I'm glad we've got our first mention of nipples tonight already. So, how about you?
Always fun watching cheesy 80s Christmas song promos.
Got to be Wham. Surely.
Wham, yeah, exactly. Also, I've got something that I'm going to play later for you guys, which is an amazing Christmas card that the ad agency Mother did probably 15, 16 years ago, which really stood the test of time. So that's super fun.
That's great. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight. Thank you.
Hello, lovely gluggers. Thanks for coming to listen to some ramblings. Right, so without further ado, I'm Adam Jens. I'm the founder of Mainframe, and this is Chris Hardcastle, who's the founder of our Manchester studio.
Hello.
Mainframe's one of the first motion design studios. We started it over 20 years ago, so we are the old men of the industry now, I think. So we are a team of passionate souls, specialising in design and technical innovation for moving image projects, including channel branding, commercials, branded content, and social media. We're a team of 25, and we're split across bases in London and Manchester, as you see. And we're always looking to create new and beautiful, groundbreaking work, like some of that stuff. So here's a little show reel. It's kind of hot off the press. We've just cut it in the last few weeks. So enjoy. This is a bit of what we do. No audio. Something has to go wrong, of course. Was there no audio on there?
No audio.
Is there audio now?
Sing along.
Make your own audio up.
There is audio on there.
Is there? Let's try it.
You need to hit the F1.
Okay, we're going to give this one more go, and hopefully it's going to work. No.
Soundman, have you got audio?
Think of all the fun I've missed. Think of all the
We've got sound, motherfuckers! for bearing with us there. Thanks for bearing with us. Yeah, that was basic, wasn't it? Right, so that's a bit about who we are and a little bit about work. Now, I was going to do something about all of the Christmas idents that we've done this year. We've done quite a lot. We're working on a lot of the BBC Two Christmas idents. But guess what? They haven't been released yet, and they haven't actually technically been finished yet, so I can't show you. So I'm going to show you a little bit of development work that we've done for some work for Harrods, and yeah, that's it for Christmas work and forever. There's one more little thing for Christmas actually, so here you go. Thanks very much. So that was a little bit of work that we've done for Harrods, and I wanted to just sneak one thing in that we haven't done, but it's something that the amazing Mother Advertising did about 18 years ago, and every time it's Christmas, I always think this is still the best thing that any agency put out as a Christmas card.
Stuck with unwanted guests this Christmas? Meet Chris Christmas Rodriguez. Vote him to replace Santa this year.
So good, so good, so good. I absolutely love that. Right, so, because I'm not showing you loads of Christmas stuff, I've done a little section called How the Fuck. So these are just a few little thoughts and opinions, probably not all correct, but just a few ramblings from me. So first up, how the fuck do I get clients? So I always find traditional new business work is soul-destroying and mostly fruitless. I don't know if any of you guys do any new business work yourselves, but it's an absolute horror of a job, and I pity anyone that has to do it full-time. So in my opinion, you're best off doing a really, really knockout bit of work for a client and then absolutely hammering the PR, getting loads of press, as much press as you can possibly get. I know it's a total chore going around and making sure it's in all the publications and stuff, but that is really, really going to be your best friend. Clients always want to feel like they've discovered you, and I think that really is the best way of doing it. And once you've done that and you've got a couple of clients and you're on a roll, you're basically going to get a load of other clients that have got a fear of missing out, and that for me is the way that we get our clients, essentially, and just do that.
You don't really do anything.
No, essentially no. Let the press do the work. But if you struggle to get an amazing piece of client work out the door that's going to get you that press, you really need to commit some time and energy into doing a good studio project. I really have got the guys up in Manchester to thank for doing an internal project. Probably, was it like a year and a half, 2 years ago now? A year and a half, maybe?
Yeah, it might be that long ago.
Yeah. And so they did this internal project in, pretty much spare time, and pretty much the internet went absolutely nuts for it. Just got played millions and millions. We lost count after about 60 million plays, didn't we? And we decided we'd do a bit of a focus on Instagram. At the time, a couple of years ago, we weren't sure whether we were going to be putting loads of stuff on Facebook or Twitter, so we were just kind of doing all of it. And then we put it up on Instagram, and Instagram went nuts for it. Our viewers went up from 200 to about 80,000 in a week, which was pretty nuts, and they're about, 115,000 now. So despite most of those 115,000 followers being slightly weird Ukrainian teenagers, there was obviously a little subsection of people with money and clients that saw something, and they came to us, once a week probably for the last year. They've come to us essentially saying, "Yeah, I want that."
It was nice to see our own work on mood boards sent to us as things that clients wanted to do.
Yeah, you really need to go something to fuck up a job when your work is the inspiration for the project they want to pay for. And also, actually, this weirdly, we got requests from places like the Cooper Hewitt Museum and the Pompidou Centre to play it, which was totally mind-blowing from, just doing this continual commercial work to having bits of work played out in museums around the world. It's absolutely fantastic. Real nuts bonus. And my particular favourite was yesterday. It got featured on the If You High page, which is got 3 million followers and a very discerning crowd, I'm told. Anyway, this is the actual video in case you want to have a look at it. Sounds slightly out of sync. Thank you very much. So really, in the last couple of years, that one piece of work has completely changed our business around. So it shows that just one well-considered, well-executed piece of work can change things. So put the time and effort in. So just on that topic, basically, if you are in the creative industries and you're not on Instagram, you are totally missing a trick. It's a friend on so many levels. We get client work. We create client work for it. We get new business from it. Find emerging talent and get a ton of inspiration. So basically, just completely forget YouTube. Fuck Twitter. Definitely fuck Facebook. It's all about Instagram for our community, as far as we're concerned. Next up in the ramblings is how the fuck do I do something that makes a positive impact? So that is a good question. So we've got a client, which I'm not going to mention. And did they say live streaming? Live streaming this, okay. Okay, so that client, very nice client that they are, lovely, lovely people, but they are one of hundreds of clients that make very big budget adverts. The adverts usually require a room or several rooms built from timber and plasterboard and carpet and all God knows what. And they essentially build this, spend 2 days shooting it, and then unceremoniously put it in a skip, and that gets taken to landfill. And that kind of I just found that completely insane. I think there's a growing feeling in the sort of commercials and film industry that something's got to be done about it. So what we have done is we've come up with something we think is pretty neat, which negates all the waste essentially, and creates something which has got much more longevity and much more flexibility. And it's called the Virtual Studio, and it's kind of in development at the moment. So essentially, this is a quick test that we've done. It takes a shot from a real commercial with a real set, and what we've done is the picture quality is kind of crappy, so you can't really see it, but it shows that what we're doing, we can completely recreate what they've shot in camera, and it's just super cost effective, and it is saving all that kind of complete waste and landfill. So here you go. So hopefully you kind of got the idea of what we're trying to do there, and hopefully that's got legs, and we're going to be able to roll it out and, do some kind of good with it. So next up, how the fuck do I make money out of this game? Intrinsically, the way we work is a kind of fixed bid system, which I'm sure most of you know. That means we get given a price, and we have to do the job until it's finished. Essentially, that just means clients can change their mind as often as they want. They can change the goalposts. They can completely change the route, and we have to keep working until it's done. That is completely fucked, and there is no other industry that would accept that kind of nonsense. But unfortunately, it seems to be the way of the world. You couldn't ask a builder to keep moving walls about and expect them to not charge more. But anyway, so making a decent profit from production of moving image work is pretty tough. So essentially, there are some studios which can stick to their game plan and just keep doing that. But we're always looking for a way to extend out the reach of what we do and create work in which we own some of the intellectual property. So there's two natural ways for us to do that. One is studios like Studio AKA. They've done it really successfully with their kids series, Hey Dougie. Or you can create software, and we've gone down the software route. So I'm going to hand you over to Chris any second. Basically, what they do up in Manchester is some really, really clever shit. MASH was developed by the guys up there. It was their first big project to solve a problem with some of the software that we use day in, day out. Started off as a bit of tinkering, and it's become pretty much a major part of our business now. So what I'm going to do is just give you a quick overview of MASH, and then Chris is going to talk to you about another project that they've got going on. Thank you. Right, so I'm going to hand you over to Chris from our Manchester studio.
Hello. Right, my job to make software development look sexy. So yeah, that was a product called MASH. Autodesk now own MASH, and we're sort of moving on to the next thing. As you can see, it hasn't got great branding at the moment, but it's called Cavalry, and that's why there's a green C, or a C in a green circle there. We've only really shown this to one or two people so far, some of which are in this room. So this is our kind of first public outing on it, and I'm even going to dare do you a live demo as well. So if there's any animators in the room, After Effects users, hopefully this will be of interest. So Cavalry is sort of primarily an animation application. Our goal is for it to be good at a lot of things, but what we're really focusing on at the moment is our innovative approach to proceduralism. So I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but basically it means you can move lots of things around with a few sliders and buttons. And what I'm showing here is some setups that are kind of relatively complex looking things, but actually to build in Cavalry are really quick and straightforward.
I mean, you're talking like a minute.
Yeah, literally, yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, once you've got an idea and you're rolling with it, you can do it in a few minutes. So these are the kind of things that are very, very difficult to do in sort of existing software applications. So we're trying to steal a march on that market there. And yeah, so there's some examples, just some simple tests that we've been sort of pulling together along the way. And, you know, as Ad loves, it's all on we've got a little Instagram for that as well. I think we've got 123 followers, so a little bit of catching up to do. Right, so I'm going to be brave here. Can I hold you that?
Yeah. Do you want this on a stand?
Right. Can you hear me okay there? Yes. Right, so this is Cavalry. I'm not going to kind of go into too much detail because it'll take too long. I just want to kind of show you a quick workflow that will give us something similar to one of those things we were looking at there. So I'm just going to create a shape. I'm going to outline that shape, and then I'm going to duplicate it. Our duplicator is our kind of way of spreading lots of different objects around, so you can do different types of duplication, and you know these sliders will allow you to create some interesting setups, whatever you're trying to do at the time. For this, I'm going to do a point, and as you see, there's lots of shapes, but they're all on top of each other. So I'm going to do something called a stagger, and I'm going to plug that into our outline. And I'm going to set that to a value of 200. And now you can see we've got lots of concentric rings. So if I go back onto my duplicator, I can still change the number of points and play around with all these things. So it's all still live. You haven't sort of baked anything in. You can still work away with it. So we've got lots of sliders on here that we can play with. What I'm going to do is just randomize all these values. So I've put a random node on there. And I'm just going to give that a setting. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing on... What was I going to do it on? I'm going to do it on travel. I'm going to just randomize that as well. I'm just going to give that a bit of a sort of random setting there. So as you can see, I can now sort of animate this thing with this. So I could keyframe this, but instead I'm just going to keep on adding nodes because I want to keep it all nice and procedural. And I've just hooked that up to time, so it will now animate. And I can keep taking this further and further. So I've got a timescale thing here. I'm just going to give this a bit of an offset here. Keep with this. Let's keep randomizing everything. Let's randomize it. And so now everything's moving randomly. And if I set this to -2 and 2, I'll get some going forwards and some going backwards. Right? So you're already at something, relatively complex. Yeah! Things moving around. We can just keep building like this. So if we did the width, again, I'm just going to sort of... We've got other nodes than random. I'm just sort of focused on that today. But you can do all this. And what's really nice is because we can go right back to the beginning here, and we can just change this circle, and we can say, no, I want a polygon instead, and I want a 3-sided polygon, I want a 4-sided polygon, etc., etc. So that is my demo. If you are an After Effects user, hopefully that you'll be thinking, that doesn't make any sense. But that's kind of what we're working on at the moment. That's what we're really trying to push. We're about to kind of do go out to a public beta, actually. So if anybody's interested in getting their hands on that, give us a shout, because how can you get there? Let me just show you the slide. We've just got... Is it going to be free? In the short term, yeah. Free? In the short term.
Yes, yeah. No, do get in touch with us if that's of interest, because I do think it's a pretty, if you're used to After Effects, it's a pretty impressive thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So get on the beta. Absolutely. The beta's obviously free. We're a long way out from getting anything to release, so jump on board. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Cool, thanks, Chris. So we're going to finish up now. And one last thought is, what do we think is happening next in the industry? I think, essentially, there's a pretty positive feeling amongst all my peers and stuff. The biggest thing for us at the moment is that people, we've always been at the bottom of the pile, below big brands, below agencies, really, below, branding agencies. And it feels like people like Martin Sorrell now taking a completely different view of where the future is. He's now looking to invest in smaller, leaner content creation studios and tech businesses. So it really feels like, for the first time in 20 years, that we are kind of rising up, further and further up the food chain, which is brilliant. So I just want to finish up with, keep the faith, comrades. Our time is coming. Thanks very much.
Hi, I'm joined here with Johnny and Chris from VCCP at the Glug Christmas Party. I'm going to ask you a little bit about what you're doing here tonight and what you're going to be speaking about.
I think we're here to talk about Christmas ads. I'm not sure if our script does that. Let's see.
I'm here to talk about the worst 6 months of my career.
It's brilliant. I'm looking forward to that. Really, that's great. Your first Glug event ever, or been before?
First, yeah.
I went to one at VCCP, so we didn't travel far. But
Just down to the cafe.
But we are big fans.
Huge fans.
Very good. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a really quick question about Christmas, as it is our Christmas party. What is your favourite Christmas movie?
Ooh. That's tough. Chris?
Yeah, Home Alone, no doubt. No question.
Home Alone 2.
And that got, yeah, all right, fair enough. I'm going Die Hard. All right, well, look, these are the guys from VCCP. They'll be talking on the main stage very soon. Thank you.
Right, boys, are you ready? Is everyone ready for VCCP? Is everyone ready for a bit of Cadbury's? Yes. Right, over to you, boys. Right, welcome to Glug.
Evening. Hi. Chris. Has everybody seen the Cadbury Gorilla advert? We didn't make that, so this will probably be a letdown. So we are VCCP. I'm Darren. This is Chris. This is Johnny. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, about 6 months ago, a year ago, we kind of were given like a terrible brief, which is basically, how do we follow the greatest advert of the last 10 years, multiple titanium gold winning Cadbury Gorilla, which was obviously a bit of a nightmare. So we basically just thought about jumping out of a window, to be honest, because it was, whenever we mentioned that we were working on Cadbury, all anyone ever said was, oh yeah, the gorilla, man, the gorilla's amazing. I'm like, we're not doing a fucking gorilla. So basically, we were asked to pitch, along with a few other agencies. And what happened is we got a call, we went up to Bourneville, which is the home of Cadbury, and we were briefed. I don't know if anybody knows the story of Cadbury. It's formed by Quakers. So we were briefed in this really old-fashioned, historical kind of museum-type building with John and George and the other Cadbury family all looking down at us. James, thank you, Chris. And it's pretty scary. Like, on an advertising heritage kind of level, there's not a lot that has been more famous or been more legendary or we all grew up with than Cadbury. But that was the task. And while we were there at Cadbury being briefed, we went to Cadbury World, which was fun. And you can have your photograph taken on a bar of chocolate.
It's rubbish.
It's brilliant.
Rubbish theme park.
They might be watching, Chris. And then, I don't know if anyone's been to Cadbury World, they have a whole corridor, a whole kind of street where which is basically an ode to all of their past advertising. So you walk down the corridor on all the screens, you see famous work like Cadbury's Caramel or Whisper or That's a Finger of Fudge. So just like legendary stuff, and we're like, fuck man, we're stuck here. What the hell are we going to do? And of course, one thing that kind of, there was an animatronic version of this. So they had, it's so highly revered, and by us, we love it, we think it's amazing, but our job was to follow it. They have their animatronic gorilla, and all these kids are standing around loving it, and again, we were like, shit, this is a nightmare. But I'm going to pass over to Chris now, who will continue our story about what we did next with that fucking gorilla.
Yeah, hello. Just before I go any further, as Darren said, when you work on Cadbury, whether you're talking to your sister or your mum or anybody, they go, yeah, the gorilla, man. And you go, no, I didn't do that one. And everyone goes. And you kind of feel like a bit of a loser. So it kind of stings when people talk about it. So what we thought for the rest of the talk is we'll refer to the gorilla as Gerald. Just makes us feel a bit better. And this is a Gerald that we found on the internet. So if we move on to the brief. The brief is boring, right, when you get the brief, but it sort of didn't matter because we had this pressure of this amazing thing that we kind of had to follow. So straight away, you got that blank sheet of paper, gorilla playing the drums, Phil Collins. You're like, right, first thoughts. What have we got? What did we have, Johnny? So, for example, pigs playing the panpipes in snow, right? Why not? Or an octopus playing a piano, I don't know, could be doing Elton John, could be doing Billy Joel. And the other thing is when you say you're working on Cadbury, everyone goes, I got an idea for you. Yeah, I got an idea. I've seen that gorilla one, I got one. So this is Johnny's wife. This is Johnny. This is Johnny's wife. Rapping dog with a bone on his head. That was Carmen's idea. So you're like, oh, man. So we were under the cosh. We didn't really know what to do. And then we kind of just thought, I guess it's true of any creative industry, really. If you're trying to follow, like, something brilliant, do you try and do the same thing but better, or do you just do something completely different? And I think we suddenly went, do you know what? Let's stop giving ourselves a hard time. Let's just do something different. Let's not follow Gerald.
See you, Gerald.
See you, Gerald. So we're not going to follow Gerald. So we went back to the brief, and you stare at it, don't you? You stare at this thing that's like, do something amazing. And you're like, oh, man. And you look at it, and we could all stare at it now for 5 minutes and feel that pain. But the brief really was to make people love Cadbury again. Since it got took over by Kraft and stuff, there was a bit of tension in the air, because it's a well-loved British brand. Or it was. And we were just trying to get that love back. Like, we all grew up with it as a brand. I'm sure some of you guys did, although you're quite young. But, there is an affection for it, and so we just wanted to put it back in the hearts of the nation. And then when we looked at the brief
And the brand.
It was all about generosity. They wanted to talk about generosity, and we were like, all right, is that true of Cadbury? Is that and we'll do something generous later with the chocolate. But is that true of Cadbury? So we went back into their history. And when they were formed, as Daz said, they were a Quaker organisation, and they were literally formed to make society better. They were formed in a time when there's industrial slums and people are dying of disease and everyone's addicted to gin and all this stuff. It's true, totally true. And they built a factory out in the middle of nowhere in the countryside where the air was clean and people could kind of, live nice lives and have a garden. And they built homes for their workers. There's some of the homes. And they built a swimming pool. Built swimming pools for the workers. And they built cricket pitch, which is still there. And they kind of created this sort of utopia for their workers. And it was all about making society better. We were like, all right, maybe they can claim generosity. Maybe that's fair. And then we were thinking, well, if you're going to talk about generosity is not like a big thing, right? It's not like fireworks and explosions and stuff. It's quite small moments between people. So the next slide is about small. And we were like, maybe we could do like really tiny little adverts, like really quiet stuff, like when someone opens a door for you, or someone pays you onto a bus, or someone lends you their umbrella, like tiny little things, but you really feel it. You kind of go, the people are good. And as we were thinking about that, we thought, do you know what? Some of our favourite adverts ever are tiny, and on paper they're probably not even, they don't sound like much of an idea, but if you just execute it beautifully and quietly, they become our favourite ads anyway, and we thought maybe we could do something like that. So we're just going to play you two of our favourite ads from the past.
You alright?
No.
What's happened?
Nothing.
Can I get you anything?
No, just go away.
All right.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, right? It's beautiful, and it's tiny. We didn't do it.
We didn't do it.
But it's just beautiful. It's on a script. That'd probably sound really boring. Girl's upset, brother buys her a Happy Meal to cheer her up. You're like, yeah, go on then. Where's the explosions? But it's beautifully done. It's quiet, it's simple, it's really British. And we were like, oh, okay, that's good. And then there was another one of our favourite ads that we loved as well, along a similar vein.
You definitely won't remember this.
You won't know this. You might do.
Got any lemonade? He wants. Milk! Ugh! It's what Ian Rush drinks. Ian Rush? Yeah, and he said if I didn't drink lots of milk, when I grow up, I'm going to be good enough to play for Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley? Who are they? Exactly. Now get off. Give me some. Get off.
I mean, it's two Scouse lads having a chat about milk. Is that good on paper? Is that a brilliant idea? I don't know, but it's done so authentically. There's no whiz-bang, there's no fireworks. It's two lads having a chat, and yet we remember it and we love it. And we thought maybe we could have an impact that way. Rather than doing fantastical, magical stuff, we could do really British, tiny stuff. What do they all have in common, these ads? They're just honest, there's no polish, they're authentic, there's no bullshit, and nothing really happens, which we thought was interesting. Over to you, Johnny.
Thank you. Okay, so let's fast forward, I don't know, a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months. We've now got our strategy sorted. It's all about generosity. We're starting to believe that now. We just hope we can convince everyone else. We've got an end line. There's a glass and a half in everyone. And now we've got our first script. A little girl buys a bar of chocolate. Right. That looks pretty small, so we're thinking, maybe that could be good. Our other favourite ads were brilliant, and they were tiny, so we go into production. This becomes one of our golden rules. Resist temptation. Because we're ad men, and we want to play with all the cool toys, big explosions and loud bangs and crazy stuff. But no, we're like, we've got to keep this small, got to keep it authentic and honest. We are not going to have a wacky sweet shop. We're not going to have a lovely middle-class yummy mummy. And our little girl is not going to be a stage school kid from Chiswick.
No offence to anyone from Chiswick, but we are in Shoreditch, so we're probably safe.
And we've got a quote here from our lovely French director. Do I do the accent?
Yeah, do that. Yeah. Yes.
There is no light without the darkness. And he said this to us over and over and over. And I think what he was trying to say is, if you want to engage people and touch them really emotionally, you have to show them the reality of life, which is pretty dark most of the time. But by showing the darkness, it amplifies the light so much more. If you start in a positive place, it's just happy, glossy positivity. If you show darkness, it will really illuminate it. So, in search of darkness, we went off to Glasgow.
This was the nice bit.
So it's December, it was bloody freezing, and we shot our ads up in Glasgow because it's real Britain, it's gritty, it's lovely, and beautiful at the same time. And this is what we made.
Sorry. Come on. Yeah, that's me. Yeah. Yeah, go on.
I'd like a bar of chocolate, please. It's for my mum.
Your change.
Happy birthday, Mum.
There's a glass and a half in everyone.
Cool. And so, interestingly, after making this, when people ask us what we work on, we say Cadbury. They stopped asking about Gerald. Fuck off, Gerald. Oh, so then where do we go? Right, so then all of a sudden, Cadbury has about 600 other brands, and the briefs start piling in. They all want to live in the same world. They all want to feel connected, part of the same family. The first one we got was Twirl. And the client wanted us to talk about the inside of a chocolate bar. And we go, well, in the real world, people don't talk about the inside of chocolate bars. They don't really talk about chocolate bars, so how the fuck are we going to do this? So using the same rules, we found like small moments that are realistic. They're kind of, when you've got a great friend, you can go to the pub and you can talk about crisp flavour World Cups and, I don't know, just total bullshit. And that's kind of what we did, and we did it in Margate, where it's pretty, well, lovely, but you kind of get the same feel for it, even though we're doing something very different. But we'll play this anyway.
Crop circles. Did they ever find out who was responsible?
Well...
Because I think it might be the same person who created, you know, all these twirly curly things in here.
Well, that would be a lot of work for one person.
Maybe it's a gang of them. Don't be so literal, Miles.
Sorry.
Apology accepted.
Thanks. And then after this came Roses and Boost and a thing called Inventor and more and more and more. And before we knew it, it's fucking Christmas. Chris, are you going?
Chris, are you going to wake up?
Sorry. Am I doing Christmas?
Although, no. Okay, Christmas. Thing about Christmas, right? So we've given ourselves these rules. It's all about generosity and real generosity. Problem is, at Christmas, everyone's talking about generosity. John Lewis, Sainsbury's, Waitrose, blah, 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 blah. So we're like, fuck, now what we're going to do? We have to do generosity plus.
Generosity double 2.0.
So, we're creating Cadbury Secret Santa. Secret Santa is a really generous thing. You give anonymously, so you don't even take credit for giving. So that's pretty double generosity. So what's happening with Secret Santa? There's a Santa, a mask. But we're starting not in a traditional form with a big TV ad and some posters. We've started with a Secret Santa postal service, which is touring the country at the moment. It's actually on London South Bank for the next 2 days, if you want to pop along. And what happens down there? Good question. So you go down, you get given an envelope. It's a postage-paid envelope. On the envelope, you put in the name and address of someone you love. Yeah. You go up to the front, you choose which bar they might like, you stick it in the envelope, and you put it in the post box. And a couple of days later, whoever you sent it to comes down and goes, whoa, this is cool, I've got a free chocolate bar, that's nice.
All paid for by Cadbury.
Here's a little social thingy. And this is kind of the same thing, but it shows you how to do it. Oh, this is some Instagrams I took this morning of really happy people. Oh, we've lost their attention now, they've gone for the chocolate. Right, and there's some posters, and some really clever posters that change when the weather changes. And to get you back in the room, let's play the TV advert.
Listen, do you want to know a secret?
Lost them.
Do you promise not to tell? Closer. Let me whisper in your ear.
Free chocolate.
Say the words you want to hear. I'm in love with you. I've known a secret for a week or two. Nobody knows, just we two. Here now, listen.
Join our biggest Secret Santa ever at cadbury.co.uk.
Just go straight to the end.
Wow. The power of free chocolate. We did a thing for Boost a few weeks ago in Canary Wharf with the wealthiest people on the planet, and they were punching each other for a 69 pence bar of chocolate. Love it. Anyway, we're nearly there. Did we succeed?
Did we succeed? It's like mayhem in here, right? So yeah, we got Gerald off our back. Gerald is gone. No one seems to remember him. Hopefully we've done something good and replaced it. We won lots of awards. Client's very happy. We're all very happy. But this is something that's quite amazing that happened when the work went out. We actually got a letter from Victoria Cadbury of the Cadbury family. So it's pretty amazing. The Cadbury family, obviously, they sold the company. They're not really involved anymore. But they care passionately about the company that they formed and the company that their fathers and great-grandfathers set out to create many, many years ago. So when we got this, that read, whilst it is a small nod in the history of the company, for me, I want to say thank you, as that is the heritage and story that is really important to what Cadbury means and what has made Cadbury such an integral part of British brand society. So basically, for the first time in about 30 years, they said we were doing their brand justice and doing the kind of work that they set out to create when they formed Cadbury. So that's pretty good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
we were
for having us.
VCCP. Thank you.
Cheers, thanks for having us. Enjoy.
Cheers, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay. Hi, we're here at the Glug Christmas Party in London. I'm joined by Ricardo and CJ. I'm going to ask them a couple of questions about what they're doing here tonight. So, what brings you to Glug Christmas Party tonight?
Me personally, I've been to quite a few. Acquaintances with the members, you know, the people who actually created it. And, you know, I've been going for quite a time up until now. Bring my students along as well.
So what brings you here? What do you do in the creative industries?
So I'm a lecturer at the Cass School of Art, Architecture and Design. And I teach within graphic design and illustration and animation courses. So it's a really good event to kind of, for me to come to meet other creatives, other individuals, and also to introduce my students to as well.
Fantastic, thank you. And what brings you here tonight?
This is my first one. Wow. So yeah, it was recommended by a friend.
Glug Virgin.
Yeah, exactly. Pop in my cherry.
And what? Wow. And you did. And what are you looking forward to seeing tonight?
Mr. Bingo actually is someone I've followed for a wee while. Does some pretty funny and interesting things.
I'm gonna ask you one really important question I've been asking everyone tonight. Right, big one. What is your favourite Christmas movie?
Oh man, that's a bad one.
I'm going with Die Hard. Okay, I think Die Hard. CJ, what do you reckon?
Again, I don't know if it's actually a Christmas movie, but in New Zealand on Christmas Eve they play Gremlins every year, and that's like quite a Christmas.
It's a new Christmas one. That's good.
Mine, I think it'd have to be Home Alone.
Right.
Yeah, I think it would have to be Home Alone.
Home Alone's winning so far tonight, so it's very good. Yeah, good choice, excellent choice. Right, thank you very much. We are here in the life drawing room of Glug's Christmas Party here in London. I'm here with Christopher. Do you want to tell me a bit about what we're doing here?
Hi. Well, we've got some amazing, beautiful creatures down from the Alexander Whitley Dance Company. And we are putting them into kind of our beautiful version of a life drawing class this evening so that our friends here can try out these amazing new surfaces. So everyone's having a chance this evening, if they want to sit down, to pick up one of these tablets and have a play. It's a really nice way to have a go at life drawing.
Earlier we spoke about children losing the confidence to draw sort of around the age of 7 because they feel a bit more self-conscious. How do you think using these new digital devices encourages that creativity that's so important and also such an important thing for Glug as well?
Well, I think it just makes it so much more accessible. You know, the fact that you can turn this thing on, you can play with it. You don't worry about whether you're making a beautiful piece of art or not. You just play, and it's rather like us all now using cameras in our smartphones and thinking we're amazing photographers.
It's great, thank you. So you're obviously an artist. Where can we find more of your work?
Oh, thank you.
And the work you're doing tonight, of course.
Well, I put most of my art onto Instagram, so you can find me at Generation Create without an E.
Thank you very much. And the most important question of the night: what is your favourite Christmas movie?
I'm gonna have to say The Grinch.
Okay, all right. It's a very happy movie there. All right, thanks very much. Good night. Hi, I'm Ollie Risco, and I'm joined here by Fraser from Cub Studio. I'd love to know a little bit about what you're doing here tonight and a little bit about Cub Studio too.
Well, Cub is an animation motion graphics house. We do a lot of work with sports teams, franchises, social media platforms, things like that. And I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about After Effects and character animation.
Very good. So what's been your favourite piece of work this year that you've seen out there?
This year, that I've done?
Yeah.
Okay. This year, we're doing some work on an app that's going to be out in a few weeks' time. That's been the most fun because it's been new kind of production method, you know, making stuff for mobile is something that we haven't done a lot of. So that's kind of been there.
Great. And is this your first Glug you come to?
No, I've done a few Glugs. In fact, I think I may have done one of the very first Glugs in the way back when I was at Mainframe with Adam and Chris. I recently did the Tech Off, was the last thing I've done here. So I'm here to just rehash that talk and pad it out a bit, make it 20 minutes.
Very, very good. Okay, and I'm going to ask you one last question. Your favourite Christmas movie?
Home Alone.
Home Alone. I'm going to go Die Hard. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Right, lovely last talk. Please welcome to the stage Fraser from Cub Studio, ladies and gentlemen. Big round of applause. Woo!
Woo!
Who are you?
November 28th. Merry fucking Christmas. Hello. We are Cub Studio. I'll get to that in a minute. We're an animation, motion graphics company.
Can you turn the mic up a bit, please? Thank you.
Try that one. Hello? Oh, better. There we go. We're an animation and motion graphics company. We work out of Old Street, but we're moving to Brighton, so anybody who's going to Brighton... Anybody? Animators, get in touch. We need some. My name is Fraser Davidson. Now, as a former alumnus of Mainframe, it's important to position yourself in the sweet spot between two shit celebrities. I occupy the niche somewhere between Heston before he got skinny and Anthony before he got really, really, really fat. Now, Ben Skinner, Ben, my partner, he's supposed to be here, he's the other half of the company. He told me on Tuesday that he had tickets to Harry Potter on Ice, and that is because Ben is an idiot. I'm going to show a bit of our show reel, so you can see what we do, and yeah, hope you enjoy it. No? So as you can see, we are a studio that focuses a lot on... Too kind. We focus a lot on character animation, and that is what I want to talk to you tonight about. I originally, anybody who came to one of the tech offs that we did, this was originally a five-minute presentation that I've really padded out. So as I say, I want to talk to you tonight about character animation. It's probably about 80% of what we do, and I really, just to give you, you all have After Effects, I'm sure if you have Adobe licenses now, it all just comes together. And so I wanted to give you a sense of how the sausage is made. Not only that, but how the sausage is made and the shit we make with the pointless shit we make with the sausage. So After Effects, as I say, you all have it. It sits there, the AE, it's fundamentally has problems. The problems being that it's not the best tool for any particular job. It's the wrong tool for the job. It's not good at 3D. It's not good at compositing. It's not really great for character animation. And to give you an example of that from my point of view, from character animation point of view, this is, in the old days, how you would animate an arm. You would adjust the rotation accordingly for every part of the arm in order to get where you wanted the hand to be. Now, any of you who've ever played QWOP will know that that fundamentally is a bad way to move. It's worth watching a lot of this. This is the whole 100 meters, but I'm not going to do that. Not only does that generate frustration and bad-looking animation, it generates fucking loads of keyframes. Now, out of the box After Effects, there's a way around that. Unfortunately, it's maths. Really, Fraser? Mr. Bingo's going on after you, and you've got this friend that says maths? Yeah, it's going to be fine, guys. It's going to be fine. Yeah, maths. And they come in the form of expressions, and expressions take data and turn it into movement. And this is an example of that. This is a guy who, cycling, the movement of him looks relatively complex. It's a bit like a walk cycle. But everything here is generated from a single rotational pivot of the axis. Now, also, that's great. One for the sinusoidal waves out there. Now that's great, but in terms of creating something that loops and is sort of simplistic, that works well. But in order to get kind of where you want to be really, and make animation that functions well and is useful, you need plugins. And for plugins, you need extremely clever people. And luckily, the animation industry has an incredible amount of extremely clever people. We're going to talk inverse kinematics. That's right. That's right. Are you sure, Fraser? Mr. Bingo literally made a fucking rap video. Yes, we're going to do inverse kinematics. So, as opposed to my arm, my robot arm, now what plugins like Duik allowed you to do was take the hand and move the hand, and all the animation was done between the two. All the rotational stuff in the elbows, the wrist was done automatically, which meant that the pain of like animating 6 different rotations was lost. And now you only had to create 2 single positional sets of keyframes that move the feet. And here's an example of that. And like I said, After Effects being what it is, it's kind of a master of none, but it's good at plenty of things. And so you can kind of take that basic animation, that really like core functionality of character design, and create interesting, exciting things. This is Dustin, the hero of Season 1 of Stranger Things, but crucially the fucking villain of Series 2. Whatever. Now, although like Dustin's relatively complex, there are great plugins now like Limber and Rubber Hose that allow even like very novice designers, people who've not opened the package before, to create quite, like complex limbs, bending arms, like rotating knees, all this kind of stuff. Like this little girl here, she was incredibly quick to animate the other day, and she's made purely with Rubber Hose. You can see here how, just a few kind of little like elements attached to her body, and then the rest is just like stamping feet. Limber, if you were into 80s and into wrestling in the 80s, you possibly too young, but this was super cool back then. And Rise and Grind, American people love to say Rise and Grind on Twitter. I don't know what it means. It's something to do with coffee and not being hungover. But this is a 3D model that we attached kind of very simple legs to. Now faces. This is my son Ray. Even the simplest of faces on literally the simplest of children actually contain a huge number of animated moving elements. And because you're used to faces, you need to, you will feel if they're moving right or wrong. You'll know if it's incorrect. And so, plugins like joysticks and sliders manage to take all these elements, select, and given a few very key kind of simple initial positions, allow you to move them all with very simple joystick, animated joysticks. So you can see like the character. He's very simple. He's just the 7 elements I pointed out, and he's animated entirely with these 2 joysticks. Here's a character who's animated with 7, and this controls everything from his mouth positions to his eyebrows to his pupils to the direction he's looking, the dilation of his eyes, all that kind of stuff. But actually, relatively simple with just like 5 points of animation. You can use the same single point of animation to create multiple different characters who have, these are different expressions using exactly the same set of keyframes. Now, I promised you some pointless shit. Like I said, I've taken all these things, we've put them together, and this is the kind of way that we use them. This, rather than saving the world, rather than doing anything else, rather than even selling chocolate, we made a piece about how to best make tea.
Don't know know what the fuck I was thinking. I bring you to my house as a friend in my kitchen. You offer to make the tea. Naturally I say yes, you're my guest, so I take the offer gratefully. But then what I seen made my heart burst. You only gonna put the fucking milk in first. You must be out of your mind. Looks like you went and poured about half a pint. Now even with the boiling water, my tea's already lukewarm. Man, where the fuck were you born? Nah, you destroyed a thing that was sacred. Pour it down the sink, let me show you how to make it. Check it out. Tea bag in first, pour the water on top. Shut up, man, I'll tell you when to stop. Then you know exactly how much milk is required. Making assumptions on how I like. Whoa, 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 what are you doing? Don't let the tea bag sit there brewing. You gotta stir straight away, don't stop. Otherwise you get that weird scum on the top. Shit, man, look like tea algae or something. You can't just take it out, did you see that? Put it back, squeeze the shit out of the tea bag. Right, I'm watching like a hawk. You're the type who probably make his coffee with a fork. And now you put my sugar in, what'd you leave it for? Didn't even stir it in, you're unbelievable. What you think it would disintegrate itself? Bruv, you need to go and see a shrink and get some help. You chose the wrong rubber's cover to mess with. Now go get me your motherfucking digestive. Stay the hell away from my cup, bitch. Don't even meddle with my kettle, don't touch it. In fact, go sit down and watch telly. And give me back my teaspoon, bruv, you're not ready.
So, yeah, the important work that we're doing with Plugin. Thank you. So, I'd like to, if I may, for a second, take you back to 2016. Back in a time when Donald Trump wasn't the president, he was just an unindicted co-conspirator. And I was making PSDs like this. Multiple layers of Donald Trump so that we could create joysticks and sliders versions of his face for show reels. Pointless, pointless, pointless work. But it did give us an idea. An important idea. That maybe we as a small animation company could interfere in other countries' elections. It gave us the idea for Trump Facts. A platform on which we could take audio snippets of Donald Trump. We could take his own words and animate them in a way that really didn't change the sentiment of them very much, but might make them less horrific. But also in a different way, make them slightly more horrific. Now, because we're kind of short for time, and I thought there was a gap between the last talker and us, so I really need a piss. I'm just going to play you the case study that we made that shows how we accidentally stumbled arse backwards into some money.
Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee.
Often we think of innovation as the next big thing. But innovation also occurs when we take something that already exists and make it much faster and much cheaper.
$5 billion we spent on a website. I hire people, they do a website. It costs me $3.
Like Donald, agencies often ask us, how do we bring down the per asset cost of character animation so that a piece can get produced and continue to be repurposed across all social media platforms for months at a time? So we decided to experiment with solutions to this problem. Over the course of the 2016 presidential campaign, we created a Donald Trump character, knowing that he would be supplying audacious new sound bites every day. We built a process that allowed us to input audio and quickly generate animation using time-saving plugins like Duik, Limbo, and joysticks and sliders, so that we could create a new asset in as little as 90 minutes, releasing them across our social media platforms.
You're not known to be a humble man.
I think I am actually humble. I think I'm much more humble than you would understand. If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
And they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So
that makes
if
me
he's
smart.
paid zero,
What used to take us days would now take hours. And as we know, time is money, money is power, power is knowledge, and as for knowledge...
I know words, I have the best words, I have the...
ESPN saw it and hired us to do the same for the hosts of their show First Take, featuring Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman, who shout at each other about sports.
Frank, you should be ashamed!
BT Sports saw it and said, give us more of that, you very stable geniuses. And we said, sure, fine, that sounds like a tremendous idea, BT Sport. And our Trump character became the face of the FA Cup promotion in the UK, adapting well to short turnarounds as games were announced and tournament stories unfolded. Trump facts prove that the walls agencies and brands run up against in terms of budget and time can be broken down significantly. In this case, making prolific and top quality content available to rich guys and cheapskates alike.
And I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words.
So I hope maybe if you've not learned anything about After Effects and the plugins and all this kind of stuff that were on sale until probably today, that you've learned that it really pays off to make your pointless shit. If you want to learn any more about Trump and his facts, we have a website, all the Trump facts, they're all there. They're much more horrific than the case study that we send to clients. And thank you very much.
Okay, I'm here with the Microsoft Surface and Abby, and we've got some undressed festive characters here. So why don't you tell me a bit more about what we're doing here?
Some naked Santas. So basically I've illustrated these on the Surface, and it's basically a paper doll experience, so people can come along and kind of dress Santa however they'd like.
Do you want to show me how we can... Art is a bit more appropriate now, that's very good.
So you don't have to be naked, but you can kind of change the colours and everything, so people can have whatever Santa they'd like.
Very good. And what else can we do with these guys? Can we customise them a bit more?
We can kind of draw onto them, so we can give him a little tattoo or whatever.
Very good. Okay. So you're an illustrator. Where can people find your work?
I'm on Instagram at the_middle_sister with an A. And that's about it.
So all night long, people are going to be customising their own Santa Clauses and Merry Christmas and a random child over on the Microsoft Surface. Thank you very much. Hi, welcome to the Glug Christmas Party. I'm joined here by Alice and Tim from Koto. I'm going to ask you what you're doing here tonight and what you're going to be talking about.
Yeah, we're giving a talk about some of the things that our studio's learned this year. So we kind of spoke to everyone in the team and just got like a few insights as to the kind of big things that we've learned.
The same talk.
Sorry, yeah, silly question. So this year, what's been the thing that's excited you most about the work you've been doing?
I think we've just done such a big range of different projects. I feel like every week and every new project is different, and they are literally starting by the week. So yeah, always different.
It's a very good place to be. And I'll ask you the most important question of the night. Your favourite Christmas movie? Who's going first?
I'll go first. Home Alone 2.
Right, okay, good. I've got 2 votes so far tonight.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go with Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nice, very arty. Okay, thank you very much. Cheers.
Okay. Right, okay, over to you. Koto, amazing, go.
Cool, yeah, we're Koto. Thank you. We're a branding studio. We're based out of Berlin, London and LA. London being kind of our core home, and we kind of expanded earlier this year, kind of in August. We opened up in Berlin and then LA at the same time, which was very exciting. And this is kind of our team up here. It's a few of them anyway. They're illustrated by Hilla Goodspeed, who we all kind of adore in the studio and follow on Instagram. So we've all kind of been immortalised by him. We weren't actually supposed to be speaking. It was supposed to be James, who's one of the founders. Unfortunately, he's on a plane somewhere, being stalked. So we decided to kind of give our talk to the rest of the studio and just ask them what kind of stuff have we learned this year. So based on that, we've kind of built out 3 kind of key things that have been interesting, that have happened to us during the process of the last year.
In 2016, we were asked to rebrand the Tricycle Theatre, which is a small theatre in Kilburn, North London. It's got a really good reputation amongst the theatre community. People love it. They put shows on, kind of send them out internationally. It's got, as I say, a really good reputation. But the brand was kind of a bit too wacky to be competing with the general central London theatre brands. The name didn't really have that much meaning. It was originally called the Tricycle because it was formed by 3 people, and that was kind of where it came from. In 2016, they closed their doors for this big capital refurbishment project, which I think they had about 5 million to spend to do kind of the whole interior, exterior of the theatre, just kind of bring it into the 21st century a bit. And as part of that, they asked us to do the whole rebrand. So that was the visual identity, the strategy, all the signage inside, and as part of that, we did the name as well. And I don't know if you guys know much about naming projects, but they're really difficult. Everyone thinks they're easy, whoever said that. But everyone has an opinion. People come up with their own suggestions. We are currently doing some work with a kind of female wellness brand, and one of the clients sat down with his wife and a bottle of Merlot and came up with a list of suggestions, one of which was Vaggie Yes. So don't quite know what to do with that, but as you can see, people just love to get involved with naming. And this was a particularly difficult one because it had to be on the front of a building. So we really thought long and hard about what we should call this theatre. We looked at names that relate to the tricycle, things like trike, things like spoke, which is kind of the spoke of a wheel, but also stories and storytelling, which we thought was quite clever but sounds absolutely horrible. Things like common, assemble, things about people coming together. We did this whole big process, and every week we'd go and see their board of theatre directors who would tell us why they were wrong, and every week we'd go back and tell them why we were right. And this kind of continued for a while until we came up with the name Kiln, which is based on it being in Kilburn, so there's a nice connection there. The idea of transformation, when you go to the theatre, you want to feel something, you want to be changed in some way, you don't want to look at the world in the same way when you leave. It's also kind of about energy and fire and creativity. So we were pretty pleased with the name. We thought we'd done quite well there. And it also gave us the opportunity to do a brand to match.
Cool, yeah, so obviously Kiln, great name, short, all graphic designers like that. It was really about how we could create something that kind of captures the voice of the theatre and the fact that there is lots of different types of play. It's quite experimental. It's not your kind of traditional West End theatre where you kind of get these glossy productions. They're kind of thought-provoking, they're interesting, they're dynamic, they're fresh. So we thought with the identity it should be something that reflects that, and it should be something that feels transformative and that can change and adapt to the situation that it's in. So it's a really kind of simple system based around the kind of 4 letters that kind of change and project the voice in different ways. From that, it was kind of about building out something that would really work really hard for them. They're kind of relatively small compared to some other theatres in London. So it was about how we could do something that was really effective, bold, confident, reflect the different shows they have. And one way to do that quite cheaply is obviously typography. It's a way of communicating powerfully about the play in different ways. So we kind of worked with GT America to create these really dynamic typographic alignments, which we kind of had to guideline quite carefully. It was all about making sure that the kind of core team who would be using them, so we had different ways of doing it. It was about alternating the letters, doing things that feel exponential, so growing, projecting, fluctuating, so being really playful with how we could do it. And that just allowed them, for the different productions, the different plays, to really flex the voice. So we could be as simple as just setting the type straight. But what it does is gives us a really dynamic and powerful way to communicate without actually lots of glossy different assets as well. And that kind of everything was kind of born out of the name. So we looked at how we could build theatre into the name as well, and it was like really simple. We could just put it into the eye. They also have a cinema, so we did the same thing. And the colour palette was all just born out of this idea of kiln from the name. So it was lots of warm colours to represent the fire and the heat, and then cooler kind of clay and charcoal colours to kind of offset that. So everything was kind of fixated around this name. It allowed them to communicate in kind of dynamic, bold ways, in ways that they hadn't before. They're competing for space with lots of other theatres, so it's about standing out and creating something dynamic and fun. That translated into the actual theatre, so it was really exciting. We started to work with the architects on the colour palette, inside the space, signage, everything through to like iconography. We had some fun things like doing the patterns that we could put across cups and all that kind of merchandise. And with the show posters, it was like they're on a budget. They can't do these huge photo shoots, so sometimes they need to do things quite quickly, and we're using the kind of duotone colours. We can do something that feels really fresh. So this launched earlier in the year. We were all really excited. It's kind of like the client was really passionate about what was happening. Everyone would like bought in, and then this happened.
So we started to get trolled pretty heavily almost immediately as the theatre opened, and it was all about the name. People really, really didn't like that we had changed the name of the theatre, despite the fact that we had been commissioned by the theatre to change their name. We didn't just knock on their door and be like, we are changing your name. And we very much became the focus of a lot of this anger about the name change. The hashtag Studio Koto Cock-Up was pretty frequently used, and here are just some of the kind of anger that was directed towards us. And as someone who has a pretty quiet presence on social media, to find yourself trolled about something that you've worked really hard on is pretty sad. And also because the fact that these are theatre people, they have a real way with words. Things like, what dullard agency whelp came up with such a piss poor and pointless rebranding? It was even featured in Private Eye, which I didn't realise was still going, but there was a kind of running feature on it in Private Eye in which it was described as a banquet of bollocks. They also kind of paraphrased stuff from our website in quite a sad Nathan Barley sort of way, so that was a bit depressing for us as well. But I think the point for this was that sometimes you can do everything right, you can do everything the client asks of you, you can follow the brief, and you'll still get it wrong. And I think for us, we're still seeing this as a success because the client loves it. The theatre sold more tickets than ever before. They've sold loads of tickets to people who've never been before, which was kind of the part of the rebrand, was to get a new, younger central London audience in, which they've absolutely done. It looks great. And I think for us, branding, sometimes people really attach emotions to brands in a way that you can't quite comprehend. And for us, there's just a core of a few people who really can't let the old name go, and they're kind of spoiling it for everyone else. So I think we're still chalking it up as a success, but I think, yeah, sometimes you can try and do everything right and still get it a bit wrong. Another project we worked on this year was a client in the kind of pet food, pet care segment, which we thought, fine, sounds interesting. But actually, when we looked at it in a bit more detail, it's a $100 billion global industry. People really love their pets. People buy them clothes, people, call them their fur babies. No judgment if that is any of you. But people absolutely love their pets, and there's a real market to be tapped into there. So we thought this is a brilliant opportunity for us to brand something in this space. But what people do is they buy the outfits for their pets, but they forget the kind of general pet care. People tend to take their pets to the vet once something's wrong with them. They don't do the kind of general checkups because they don't know. It's not because they don't, love their pets. It's just they don't have the information to know when their pet is going to get ill or what food they should give their pet. When you go to the supermarket, pet food is like right by the toilet roll. People just don't have the things to care for their pets in the way that they want to. And the market is really boring and uninspiring. People, it's kind of like pilot high, sell it cheap sort of thing. So for us, there was a real opportunity to do something really different here.
Cool, yeah. So this is kind of quite common in what we do with all our projects. It's kind of making sure what's out there. If it's interesting, if it's not, it doesn't matter. It's kind of being aware of what's going on in the market, outside the market, kind of trends, all that kind of stuff. So as you can see, this is like pretty untapped as a brand. So I think Alice missed the client name, but the reason that they came to us in the first place was that Medic Animal was founded by a vet, and he called it Medic Animal because that's obviously his background. But then he met another guy called Neil, who was really passionate about animals as well. And together they decided that maybe Medic Animal wasn't the brand that was going to go out there and really kind of engage and excite the kind of mass market. So they managed to get paws.com, which is like, 4-letter domain, pretty rare. I think they might have paid quite a lot of money for it. But nonetheless, it's a really great thing to start as kind of the benchmark for this brand. So after we'd done this kind of competitor audit, we always kind of look at what the challenges might be for that client. So we start to think about what problems might come up, what things in the industry are going to be things we need to overcome and communicate to our audience. So the one in the middle was a kind of a key one for us because obviously the name is Paws. So how can we create something as ubiquitous as a paw? After looking at everything that was out there, it was kind of like, maybe a paw isn't the right thing for this brand. The name's Paws. Maybe it's possible we can do something different. So after that kind of process of going through the kind of immersion, really understanding what's out there, we kind of always formed the strategy. That was a series of kind of workshops and stuff I won't take you through, but it was all around this idea of making pets live longer and as happily as possible. No one wants their pet to die, and it's about extending that life. So we started to kind of riff on the idea of this kind of happy, joyful experience with pets, bit of type. Then we started to think, what happens if the pets become like a playful but disruptive force for the brand? So we start to allow the pets to kind of disrupt the brand, play with it in different ways. It's not something that feels completely static. We can introduce all kinds of animals. It doesn't have to be just pets with paws. That was something that they wanted to expand into. We can play around with things like .com and different ways that the kind of pets can just interact with it and have a really playful and engaging and kind of reflect the joy and disruption that they bring to our own lives. So we kind of went through different iterations, different ways we could play through it. We thought you can also make it real. We can just actually bring your pets in and see what they actually do to your brand. And obviously the logo is not the only thing, so we explored lots of different ways in which it comes to life and how we can start to create something that feels really engaging and different to everything else that's out in the market. This was just one of the routes we showed. We carried on working on it. The next one we thought, maybe we can actually just integrate the pet into it. And we thought, the A is a clever way of doing it. That a crossbar can be kind of the collar. Works for cats, works for dogs. We're like, I don't know if we can fit anything else in there. We used it as a kind of a stool for a parrot. Again, it was just kind of how can we get that kind of playful and joyfulness across in the communication through the logo and then through the kind of visual world. So again, it was looking at bright kind of colours, tone of voice that was really about engaging and the joy and the energy that they bring, and this kind of like mark-making language. And then the kind of third route that kind of came out quite close to the end of the project was like, what if we just kind of reflect the kind of squashy and friendly and cuddly nature of the pets we have? We're like, okay, yeah, we can create some type that does that, communicates it in a really kind of clear way. And then in the back of our minds, we still had this kind of paw idea, and we were kind of like, we can't do a paw. But in the end, we ended up doing a paw. So we thought, if we take those squishy forms and put them around the paw print, it kind of makes something that's really dynamic, interesting, and different to all those other kind of paws. We looked at doing things like making it 3D, adding texture. We thought you could inflate it, all that kind of stuff. And then built the kind of brand around that. So this was the kind of route the client went for. From telling them that it couldn't be a paw, it ended up being a paw, which is like, these things happen. It's about not shutting down the kind of possibilities as you're going through the journey. But then we had to kind of fixate on it. So now the pawed one, it was like, is the shape of the paw right? What's the spacing? We got kind of very into the details. This is just some of the stuff. We looked at all kinds of different shapes, all kinds of different animals, what was right, what was wrong. And in the end, we kind of refined it down to like the visual style. We also thought there was something interesting about the illustration. Maybe it wasn't like as crafted as we would have liked it. So we got a guy called Matt Blees involved, and he just brought a sense of humor and, again, that kind of joy that people have and those interactions that are kind of unexpected that your pets get up to when you're not there. So the brand ended up kind of looking like this, which was a paw. So we have this strong kind of bold mark that, again, it just allowed them to do things like balls and all kinds of merchandise that they can sell through the site. And also be playful with the name, so we can just have like animals popping up through to packaging, paw prints throughout the like tape. And then again, just looking at how we can start to build in that idea of education and making people kind of more aware, but at the same time in a kind of a humorous way. So we used everything from like bringing in the pets' names through to like things that they liked, and really bringing in like all of those things that happen when you've got a pet. So it's kind of flexible. We worked across all kind of the touch points. Because it was mainly a .com, we had to make sure that it worked on the website, but everything else had to follow through there as well. So this is kind of just how we brought it to life. It's still kind of in beta at the moment, so they're just testing it with dog food, but it's going to launch fully in the future. So I think from that project, as I said, like sometimes you kind of start off in a point and you're like, oh yeah, it definitely can't be that. And it's just really about thinking and analysing what you're doing as you're going through the process and realising that maybe there's another solution out there and you've just kind of discounted it. So it's kind of about not stopping and constantly looking for something else. The last project we're going to take you through is quite different to a lot of the work that we do. So this is the Last Pick Athletics Club, and they were founded by kind of two influencers on Instagram. And why they're different is they just took a different approach to sport and getting involved in fitness. So instead of kind of heroing being the best and, you know, pushing yourself to the limits, it was much more about kind of just getting involved, having a good time. It's okay to be last, but just enjoy yourself and make sure that you kind of take part. So they had this brand that was kind of very collegiate. It felt quite American in its style, because I think they just picked the typeface that all kind of American universities use. But what they did was they do really interesting kind of activities. It's all kind of, they try different things. They'll go running, they'll do yoga. They've tried things like surfing. And what we wanted to do with the process was kind of reflect how they were quite different to most of our clients. And it wasn't about delivering this really kind of corporate, rigid brand that gives them consistency across everything. It was how can we create something that's really dynamic and give them something, lots of different stuff they can play with on their social accounts. Everyone's posting, everyone's engaging in the brand in a different way through their own kind of touch points. So what we did with the team was, we thought everyone was really excited about it, and we thought, why don't we all just get together and do sessions in the same way that kind of LPAC just kind of join up and everyone kind of just riffs and does their own kind of fitness thing. We thought we'd do the same thing with design. So every kind of Thursday at 7 o'clock, I think it was, everyone was quite keen to do this in their own spare time because there wasn't a lot of budget. But we kind of just created stuff, and we all kind of, there was nothing that was right or wrong, and it was just about having fun, creating things that were all based around the kind of, we'd done workshops and all that kind of stuff to figure out exactly what they were about, but it was more about us experimenting and trying stuff that we wouldn't necessarily try with some of our other clients. And what we ended up with was something that was quite rich in its identity. So this is one of the many logos we created for them, and it wasn't about giving them one logo. We ended up giving them a kind of whole suite of different ones that allowed them to do different things, and there weren't even any rules about it. It was kind of, they were going to use their own kind of intuition as to what was right, where, and we didn't kind of force them into any kind of holes as to where to do it. So we had ones that were more friendly, that they could appeal to more in a kind of softer way, things that kind of communicated the whole name, and then kind of playful stickers and things that just allowed them to sticker up posts and create kind of collage-y type stuff really quickly. With the typography, again, we thought there was something interesting in kind of trying to reflect fitness itself. So I thought this is a great opportunity to create sweaty type. So we got like a sweat texture, we got in motion to reflect kind of the movement and things you're doing, and then the repetition of the kind of the exercises. So these are the kind of type treatments born out of the idea of the kind of fitness. As you can see, there's some nice sweaty type. And the motion stuff. So it was really about creating stuff that was really fluid. The photography, again, it wasn't about stuff that was hyper polished. It was all about kind of the rawness of what they're doing, the engagement, the fun they're having doing it, and just the captured stuff that they do themselves. all of these kind of elements were stuff that was born out of those sessions where we were in the evening. Everyone was just trying different stuff. So the illustration here was by one of our designers, Shin, and she's like very talented, and just thought, oh, what about a tangle of legs just to reflect the kind of chaos of yoga? So we created these kind of elements and packs of stuff that just allowed them to communicate in different ways. Whether it is like the exercise classes or the fitness things they're doing this week, it just allowed them to post. And one of the key things that they're doing is collaborating with lots of different interesting brands who kind of see their community and what they're kind of about and their ethos of how they're exercising. And it was about creating something that opened up more possibilities for them to collaborate with more people and do different things. They work with Nike, who creates like packs for them at the end of the semester. So they run different semesters every year. And it's just a nice thing to give away to everyone who's taken part. So through to socks, T-shirts, laces. And then again, just to talk about communicating to different audiences, we thought Girl Pack was quite nice as well. And all of the kind of different things and clubs that they could start to create around that. And I think the most interesting thing about this project was that it wasn't kind of an ego piece for anyone in the studio. It was more about everyone contributed to it. There was like an element that came from everybody in the studio. And I think that's one thing that we really feel makes something special when you work on it, is the fact that the more people contribute, the more you feel that sense of pride, that sense of joy from doing it. And the same goes with losing. Some of the most exciting work we've done this year is for clients we didn't win. We did some really big pitches against some really big agencies, which we weren't expecting. But the excitement and the energy that happens when everyone in the studio is kind of engaged is what makes the work really exciting and really special. And we always try and kind of enjoy the field we're working in, some more than others. Thank you.
Hi, welcome to Glug's Christmas party here in London. I'm joined by some of the people attending Glug tonight. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Betsy from Digital Fairy.
I'm Lucy from the Digital Fairy.
I'm Julia from the Digital Fairy.
I'm Daniel, freelancer.
Very welcome here tonight. So, what brings you to Glug tonight?
Well, Glug's always a good place to see new creative agencies, what they're up to, and just to stay in knowledge of the industry, really.
Right. Thank you. And is there anyone in particular you're looking forward to see and speak tonight? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Bingo. Love it.
Very good, very good. And I'm going to ask you a very important question. What is your favourite Christmas movie?
Home Alone, 100%.
That's winning by a mile tonight.
I was going to say Big.
Oh, Big, wow. That's a curveball, right, okay.
Love Actually.
Okay, right, okay.
I would say A Christmas Carol.
Very traditional. All right. Well, thank you very much. My name's Ollie. I've been brought on to bring on the guests from the Mr. Bingo Advent Calendar and also talk to Lee, who created the video that accompanies it. This is the third year that Bingo has created a calendar. Any of you haven't seen it? It's a scratch-off calendar. There's no chocolate. You scratch bits off, and underneath it, everyone is naked. So for, I think, £39, you get 25 naked people. It's oh, hello, I'm getting a clicker. Very official. So you get that. But most importantly, what has actually come over the last 3 years is these wonderful calendars actually have beautiful stories about the people that take part, the people that pose naked in pubs and drawn by what can only be described as a national treasure, and Mr. Bingo. So it is that time of the night when the person next to you has probably got quite bad breath. There is a faint whiff of sort of Lynx in the air at the moment as everyone's sort of getting stuck into drink and a bit sweaty. And first of all, I'm going to play the video created by Lee, the director, who is going to come up and talk to me after this. It's a beautiful piece of video, and it explains how important this calendar is to so many people. So hopefully we have audio. Oh. Here we go.
You're in a pub with a stranger called Nick,
and you're taking photos of him pretending to be a sexy cat on a pool table at 10:15 on a Tuesday morning in South London.
Nick's
and the
here.
only reason that all of this has happened is because you decided to
Go
do
on,
an art
Nick.
project. People say to me they find it really hard to describe what I do. I've always tried to describe what I do to my parents and they kind of understand it, but then if they describe to their friends who are other people their age in their village, their friends are just really fucking confused. I make things that I would put on my wall and I make things that make me laugh and I hope that other people are the same as me, basically. It's quite simple. I do have a lot of ideas noted down and the lists are just constantly growing and growing and most of the things will never happen, but I just quite like writing them down. I tend to really go with gut instinct. It was always in the back of my mind for months. How can I do something with scratch-off ink? And I was talking to some screen printers and they said, we can do that. We can do scratch-off rub removable ink. And I said, okay, let me come up with an idea and then let's do it. And I was constantly thinking about what would be an interesting thing to be revealed? What do we want to see when we scratched off the ink? I don't actually remember why I suddenly thought of advent calendars. Because I'm not actually into Christmas at all. I actually don't really enjoy it. For me, that's why it's even funnier to do such a novelty Christmas product.
It suddenly went through my head that Bingo was driving up from London. It was like, I can't exactly say, oh, right, see you later, guy.
So it was late at night and the kids had gone to bed and I was up on my own and I got this little message and I was like, oh God, it's gonna happen, it's real.
Like an hour before I was nervous. I felt like my intestines were gonna come out of my bum.
I think if you'd probably asked me 10 years ago, I probably would have been like, no chance at all. At the age I am now, I'm fully proud of the fact that I look different and I quite like things like this where it's like something a bit off the wall.
Jake sent me a message. He said, I'm 4'2" and I use crutches to walk around. So immediately I was interested in him because he's different and interesting. It's also about celebrating that type of person as well, you know?
It was a brave day. I wouldn't be able to do it on my own, so I was like, Nicole, do you want to do this? The first person I told was my dad. I was like, oh, a random stranger is going to come in and take photos of me and Nicole naked and then draw us. I don't think he understood what was going to happen. But when I show it, I'm going to be like, this is what I look like naked, Dad.
Kind of told my mum. I said, yeah, an artist is coming over and is going to take a couple of photos of us, but didn't mention the naked part. The only bit where I felt a little bit nervous was when I was walking into the room naked. But then after that, I felt super comfortable. I wouldn't have done it on my own, but yeah, sure, I'll definitely do it again.
Techniques for the work I do is different depending on what it is. So for something like the advent calendar, it's really technical. So a lot of the creativity behind the advent calendar is probably more in the planning stages and working out how it's all going to work. But then the actual drawing involves looking at photos, looking at real reference, tracing stuff, drawing it really neatly. Ideally, I wanted to shoot everyone in the pub, but there was 3 people who I really liked and found really interesting who lived a bit too far away from London. If I tried to photograph every single person remotely and then slot them into the position, it would have been so fucking complicated because every single chair and table and bit in the pub is shot from an angle with real perspective. To recreate that in 25 different locations and then bring them all together would have been an absolute nightmare.
It's a chance to do something that's really interesting. It's a chance to be part of something which is out of the ordinary. So I've got 2 kids. They were surprisingly shocked. They were scared of being embarrassed at school. And my wife felt it was, my ex-wife felt that it was okay to be photographed as a model. But when I said it's in a pub, she was really shocked by that. It wasn't the nudity she was shocked by, it was the setting.
I ended up getting a tattoo of one of his drawings, and then I got another. I love how accurate the drawings are. They're just really kind of simple, but they really kind of capture people. I didn't think I would be having to do any acting, so that was a little bit difficult, actually. It's also bizarre being in this typical old English pub in the nude, pretending to fight a towel.
I haven't told my wife that I'm here for the shoot. I said, you know, this would be a really cool thing to do, wouldn't it be fun? And she was so dismissive of it. It'll either be, I will tell her it's happened and give her the picture as a present, or it'll be something for the kids to find in the attic after I'm dead. They just find this picture of their dad with his dog, and it's like, how did that happen?
I haven't told that many people that I was doing this, but the ones I did tell were so convinced that they'd never do something like this. I know that I would have felt like that a few years ago. I think it goes without saying that all young females have a hard time with getting to grips with the way they look, especially at school when they're surrounded by other girls that are unhappy with the way they look, and that's like the core of bullying. But I got it really hard, and I was a fat kid, and I was a hairy kid, and I'm still a fat and hairy kid, you know? But now I'm just older, and I don't really need to hear the noise of other people. I have spent my lifetime, frankly, not loving my body, and I finally got to a place where I don't really care, in the most positive of ways. It's really liberating.
I'm really interested in people. That's why I guess so much of my work does involve people. It's not just because they're useful to draw, it's because I actually want to know about them. I want to know their backstory, I want to know what they're like, I want to know what interests them, what they think about stuff. I'm interested in the fact that they applied to be in the projects.
It's mostly for myself, really, because I'm usually quite a shy person. I don't get naked in front of strangers that I don't know. I'm a bit of an introvert most of the time, so doing this is sort of, to show myself that I can do it and to show other people I can do it as well.
I'm not saying that everyone that does it feels empowered because they've done it, but it's about being okay with yourself, which I think is lovely. I'm a doula, so I work with pregnant women, especially around miscarriage and abortion. And I know a lot of women, probably a lot of men, feel very disconnected. So it's always very lovely seeing people that look so at home in their bodies. In the end, like, what is a normal body? Like, every body is normal because that's how it is.
I thought people would just be like, I'll take my clothes off, that's funny. But it seems like a lot of people's motivation for being involved in it is way more complex than I thought. More than half of the people who got involved did it for almost quite a specific reason. That was something to do almost as a response to something else that was going on in their life. People reveal a lot about themselves with this project. When I first contacted Polly, she said to me, I'm so pleased you want me to be in this advent calendar because it's actually a really difficult time in my life right now where my mum has just passed away a week before. And this is almost like an act of expression for me. I want to take my clothes off for your advent calendar.
I thought, why don't I do something that I would never, ever have done if my mother was alive? She'd have been absolutely appalled. I'm really looking forward to seeing it, but it was definitely for this experience. I didn't feel at all self-conscious. I felt delighted. It's just like, okay, after 52 years of behaving, I can now be completely liberated and take my clothes off in a pub in Peckham.
Wow. A really beautiful video. We hear that word storytelling bounded around in creative all the time, and it's very rarely someone nails it so well. So I'd like to invite Lee up, who created that beautiful video. Everyone, Lee. So, nice to show it to a big audience tonight.
Yeah, very good.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Where did the idea of making that film for the calendar come about?
So it kind of, to be honest, I just contacted Bingo to do a documentary just about him generally, because all of his work is interesting. But he kind of said he hates being on camera, doesn't like audio interviews.
Hates turning up to this as well.
Yeah, exactly. But he was kind of into it, so I was like, okay, it's not a great start, but... but then kind of we were chatting about it, and I think everything that he does that's interesting is when he like interacts with people that buy his art.
Yeah.
And the next thing he was doing was the advent calendar, and each year he does it. It's the only bit of art that he does regularly.
Yeah.
But each year it's different. So he's like, yeah, you can follow me doing that. And then we kind of left it, and then he like called me a few weeks later and was like, oh, I've arranged we're doing it across 5 days. You can film it if you want. And he was like, and I was like, yeah, definitely. And then the first 2 days, it was like, oh, but that's going to be, do like a road trip. Go up to the north of England and visit a couple of people that he wanted to shoot. So like, yeah, next thing I was just like sat in a car with Bingo, giving him bad directions, telling him to turn off junctions after we'd already gone past the junctions.
And did it turn out as you expected it to?
It was. I mean, to be honest, it was always going to be like the whole theme of it is the people that are involved. So I'd never met any of these people, so I didn't know what it was going to turn out like, basically. But luckily, everyone involved was really interesting.
Speaking of the people involved, do you want to see some of the people come up on stage and talk? They're fully clothed. I'm going to invite Nick up first. Nick, do you want to come up? Take the mic. Well done.
Well, thanks.
I think it's brilliant, utterly brilliant. So, what was the experience like being photographed naked in a pub in New Cross?
Well, like tonight. Tonight is so cold, like so everyone's really wrapped up. When that film was made, it was so hot. It was like one of the hottest summers we've ever had. And so, like, it didn't really feel any different with clothes off and clothes on. It's just like a T-shirt. And Mr. Bingo just made me feel very relaxed. And so it wasn't a particularly big deal.
And whose idea was it for you to get on top of the pool table?
Well,
because it's not a regular snooker position.
Well, I come up like all the way from Brighton.
Right. Okay. Well, exactly. That's why then. Right.
Yeah, and we nailed it. We nailed it in 3 minutes.
Wow.
And he said, "That's it. We finished." And I said, "Right." Well, I said, "While I'm here and I've not got any clothes on, shall I do some other stuff as well? And then maybe it'll be of use later." So
Yeah.
I was up on the pole. I was on the pool table. We did a fight scene.
Do you want to have a go now?
After another couple of beers, I will take you up on it.
Right. Here, 11 o'clock, Nick's on stage, getting naked. We'll get a poll. You mentioned your kids in that film.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Are they going to buy the calendar? Are they going to see it?
The calendar, they'd have no problem with at all. I don't think it's a big issue. If they saw the film, they'd be mortified. So hopefully they don't see it. But, you know, it's part of a parent's job to embarrass their kids. So, like, I've really gone for it with this video.
Wicked. Okay, next up on stage, we have one more person. Well, actually, we've got a couple more people. I want you to put your hands together for Emily, who's coming up on stage. Hello.
Hello.
Usual night. You had Mr. Bingo around your house.
I did indeed.
How was that?
I was very nervous until he opened the door.
Right.
I didn't think it was going to happen, and then he opened the door. I was like, "Oh, Mr. Bingo's here. Okay, better get naked."
Sorry, I'm going to put you up on the screen. There you go.
Yeah.
I can see you.
Yeah.
And what was your feeling about maybe like sharing that calendar with your friends? And are they going to buy it? Do you think?
I don't know. They're in the audience over there.
Are you going to buy it?
I showed my mum the video.
Really?
Yeah.
And what did she say?
She was like, "Wow, my house looks great."
That's such a mum thing to say.
But my dad
looks so
won't watch
Pinterestable.
it. Yeah, my dad won't watch it.
Okay, fine. Emily, thank you very much. I am now going to welcome... let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. There she is, 10th of December. Bailey, come up, man. Here's Bailey.
Hello.
Oh, you're doing the clicker for me. Thank you very much, Ian. This is a beautiful photograph of you.
Thank you.
Were you aware that Mr. Bingo thought you and Dan were a couple?
At the beginning, no.
Right.
We got there and he had an assistant on the day and she was like, "Thank you so much for coming. We did a shoot for a lesbian couple earlier." I was like, "Oh, what?" Then it was when we went downstairs and he was like, "Okay, show me how in love you are." I was like, "Oh no, this is not happening." But we tried our hardest and...
It's a beautiful photograph.
Maybe it's shown a little bit, who knows?
And was it strange being naked in a pub?
Yes.
I take it wasn't open?
No, it wasn't. I think the person before me had the cleaner walk in. Luckily, that didn't happen
Right.
to us. I think the thing I was most nervous about was just being naked in an awkward situation. I was like, to be honest with you guys, I was like, don't get a boner in front of this man. I was like, it's going to happen, but I was
Wow, we got through 3 hours of live streaming and no one said boner. And now we've said it twice.
No, you have to be the first.
Exactly, yeah. Well, it's boner 3. And what do you think of the finished calendar? Have you got a copy of it?
I have.
Have you scratched off your bits?
No, but he sent the original one. But my mum insists that we send one to her so that she can do it with the church. So
wow,
that's going to be an experience as well.
And you're like 2nd of December.
I know,
so that's quite early. You've got like, yeah, that's going to be up on people's walls for another 23 days. Like 25th, you're only up there for like 1 day, but you are up there for the month.
You lucky people.
Wow, beautiful. Bailey, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay, we got one last guest. Aja, do you want to come up? We were talking in the garden earlier, and I didn't realise I was going to...
I know, I just sat down next to you. And
I didn't realise...
We were just chatting.
So I buy this calendar every year, and I scratch it off every day with my daughter, who's now 3. And it's quite an interesting experience to kind of go through that with her, and every day she's like, oh, what's that? And I'm like, okay, it's breakfast. And then we have to talk about it. But I really like it, and every person's got a different story on this. So what was it like being part of that project?
You know, I'm new to London. I'm American. I just moved here, well, last year. And, you know, it was just a really good way to get involved and to meet some people. I'd actually heard of Mr. Bingo before I moved here. And then just randomly, I saw that he was asking about the calendar. I just thought, I'll send him a DM. And then he wrote back, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do this.
Oh, shit, I got to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And did you enjoy it?
Yeah, no, you know, I was here because I was getting married, and I couldn't work, so I needed something to fill my days with. And it was just like, oh, honey, by the way, I'm going to be in this calendar. I'm going to be naked in a pub. Are you cool with it? And he was like, sure.
Now, someone gave me these questions. It's wonderful. The second question is, have you ever done anything like this before?
Actually, I have.
What?
So I lived in London in 2003, and some of you might be familiar with the artist Spencer Tunick. He does these large installations with lots of people lying down naked in the streets. And I like to do these things because I think that there's kind of a space in the world where we need to really be visible, especially as a brown woman who's a little bit more bigger, a little more curvy. So I have volunteered to do that, and it was a really fun experience. And then I thought, oh, I'll get my tits out for art again.
Brilliant. I don't know how to finish after that. That's an amazing last line. You are an utterly wonderful woman. And I've got to say, every single person who's taken part in this calendar is incredible. Lee, you made a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful video there. Go and buy this calendar. Not so sure you should scratch every bit off with a 3-year-old from experience. It's not a wonderful experience sometimes, but it is a beautiful thing. It's got a beautiful story behind it. And this is the... Oh, there he is. He's off doing a really well-paid gig somewhere. I want to say a very, very, very big thank you to everyone who's come along tonight to Glug. It's been an incredible night. And really importantly, say a very big thank you to everyone involved behind the scenes who does a lot of very hard work to make this happen. The creative industries are so important to us. I've never seen so much great work, and I'm looking forward to what we see in 2019 with lots more events from Glug. So thank you very much, and thank you very much, Naked People and Lee. Thank you very much for joining us tonight at Glug's Christmas party here in London. We've had an amazing time from some incredible speakers as well. We're going to let the party go on, so have a wonderful Christmas, and please join us at events in 2019 and follow us at Glug London for more information.